Welcome to Six Flags Great America, a very popular amusement park located in Gurnee, Illinois, between the cities of Chicago and Milwaukee. This park is between two very popular cities, and therefore this park does get very popular as well. I'm going to be taking you on a walkthrough tour of this entire park, show you all the rides and attractions. First things first, let's tell you where it is. Like I just said, it is located in Gurnee, Illinois. It's just off I-94. The closest major cities, again, are Chicago and Milwaukee. It's about a 30 to 40-minute drive from the O'Hare International Airport, and then about a 40-minute drive from the Milwaukee Airport. Here I am now traveling on I-94. As you start approaching the park, you will see it appear on your right-hand side, right next to the road. You'll just keep proceeding forward. You'll go look for the exit that takes you onto Grand Avenue, and that'll take you into the entrance of the park. So here I am. We're taking the exit now. This is going to take us onto Grand Avenue. And once you've gotten onto Grand Avenue, you're just going to stay to the right-hand side the entire time, and that will lead you into the parking lot for Six Flags Great America. So just stay to the right, make this right-hand turn, and the park will be right in front of you, and you just keep going straight on into the park. There's Superman Ultimate Flight, and some of the other roller coasters. We'll get to all those later on. For those of you who have guests you're dropping off, the guest drop-off area is just to the left, right next to us, just before the parking booth. For everybody else, you're going to just keep going forward a little bit more. You'll pass through and get into the parking lot, which is where we are right now. So this is the main parking lot for Six Flags Great America. There is a overflow lot in case the park gets very busy, because as I said, this park is located between two very popular cities of Chicago and Milwaukee. So this park gets very, very crowded at certain points of the year, especially during like Fright Fest and stuff. This park can get very busy. So it's good that they have a lot of parking space. Thankfully, regardless of where you park, the entrance to the park is right in front of the parking lot, which is really convenient. So whether you park close or you park far away, it is one direction you have to walk to enter the park, which is always really nice, especially when you have certain parks out there that don't really offer that. This park opened in 1976. It began its life as Marriott's Great America. It would remain Marriott until 1984, when the park would be purchased by Six Flags, and has remained that name ever since. And Six Flags would go on to expand on this park fairly regularly, and that's why it is a pretty amazing park that it is today. So here's the entrance. Let's go ahead and pass through security. It has since seen a renovation since my last visit, which is really nice. There's where you scan your tickets and enter in. Right, that'll be right in front of you. Over on the far left is where you'll find the ticket windows if you need to purchase your tickets. Way back there is a set of restrooms. Over on the right-hand side, you're going to have guest services. And then way down on the right-hand side there, that pathway leading to seemingly nowhere actually leads you to the park's water park, which is Hurricane Harbor. There used to be an entrance inside the park itself, but they have since made it a separate gated admission, so you have to walk down that pathway to get to Hurricane Harbor. So let's go ahead and scan our tickets, head into the park, and here we are inside now. This is Carousel Plaza, and really quickly I'll give you a look at the map. You can pause and take a look at it if you want to. When you first enter the park, again, you're going to be in Carousel Plaza. On the left-hand side, you're going to have the Flags gift shop. It's kind of the first gift shop you'll run into. Next to that is a set of restrooms and some lockers if you need to rent a locker for any reason. On the right-hand side is the inside in-park entrance for guest services. So you have one that's outside and you have one that's inside. So if you don't want to wait in the line outside, you can come inside the park and get the guest services that way. Then right next to that is Lost and Found, and of course the park exit. So like I mentioned, this is Carousel Plaza, and it is appropriately named that because of the magnificent, iconic double-decker carousel, the Columbia Carousel that you see right in front of you once you enter the park. That is the first thing you see, and it is a very nice spectacle when you enter the park. It's been with the park since it opened in 1976, and it has been thrilling families ever since. And that's a really cool ride to see when you enter the park. The only other attraction in this section is the park's observation tower. That is Skytrack Tower, and that's right here on the right. It is a 330-foot tall observation tower. Gives you great views of the entire park, the surrounding areas, and on a clear day, if it's clear, nothing but clear skies, you can see downtown Chicago from the tower, which is really cool. So for this video, we are going to be taking a counterclockwise sweep of the entire park. For the most part, this park follows a really circular layout. This is, in my opinion, one of the easiest park layouts of any park I've been to, and you'll see why in just a little bit. All the rides basically form this giant circle. It makes it very easy to get it from one ride to another. The first ride you're going to encounter, if you go on the right hand, if you start by going to the right, you're going to have Max Force. Victory Lane is the gift shop for Max Force. It also serves as its exit. Max Force was built in 2019. It is an S&S air compressed launch coaster. It currently has the fastest accelerating coaster in North America. It launches you from 0 to 78 miles per hour in less than 2 seconds, 1.8 seconds to be exact. It's a very powerful launch, a very quick ride, but nonetheless is a very powerful and very fun attraction that I do recommend you check out when you come here, because there's not very many air compressed launch coasters left. I believe it's one of the only ones left, only ones left, if not the only one. So if you come here, get around Max Force. We're now in Hometown Square, and tucked all the way back here is the park's scrambler ride. It's called Hometown Fun Machine. One of the many family-friendly attractions you'll find throughout the park. And this is basically the main area for Hometown Square. That's the next section you'll go into when you come this way. There aren't too many attractions in this section, but there are a couple noteworthy ones I'll point out. The first one being the Great American Scenic Railway, which, if you take these stairs, it'll bring you up to the Hometown Square station for the Scenic Railway. And as the name would suggest, it is the park's train ride that takes you all around the park, gives you great views of all the different attractions. There is also another station located in County Fair, which you'll see later on. The entrance right there is for Triple Play, another family-friendly attraction. Now, if you see these tracks on the ground, that is for the park's trolley. That's for a show that they will put on. I don't know how often they do that anymore. But if you're lucky, maybe you'll catch it when you visit Six Flags Great America. Firehouse Snacks is an area where you can get some snacks, sit down, rest, get a drink. The pathway tucked away there on the left, all leads up to is a set of restrooms. There's also a smoking area if you need to do that. Next to that is the Grand Music Hall. Throughout the year, they will play different shows within that theater. As of right now, they do not have anything because this was shot on May 11th, so it just was a time of year where they didn't really have any shows going on at that time. In front of us now is the entrance to Whizzer, which is another classic attraction, another ride that opened with the park in 1976. Fun fact, Whizzer was actually briefly on the chopping block for Great America. They were going to remove this ride for Superman Ultimate Flight, which is now over in its spot that it's in now. And that's because when they announced it, the people of this park did not like it at all. And they fought to keep Whizzer, and that's why it's still running to this day. It's a very, very popular ride with the families, as you can see with the line of people waiting to get in. So, even though it may be a family attraction, I do recommend that you check it out when you come to the park. Oh, it is a Class A. Strutters is one of the many eateries that they have inside the park. It is where you can sit down. Um, Earlier you saw the Flash Pass building. Obviously, if you come and it is a very busy day and you want to pay the extra money for the skip the line system, you can do so from that building. And right next to that was the Pass member services building as well. This next little area doesn't really have much as well. Just a couple games. There's also a little kiddie area tucked away behind one of the games. There's your entrance to Lobster, another family-friendly attraction. And this big blue thing you see towering above, that is the new for 2025 roller coaster, Wrath of Rakshasa. It's a bit of a mouthful of a name, but Wrath of Rakshasa is the park's B&M dive coaster, soon-to-be dive coaster. It's set to open later this year. And I look forward to riding it when it opens. I will talk about that ride a little bit later on in this video. We are now heading into Southwest Territory. Before you head to Southwest Territory, on the right, there's a set of restrooms. There's another look at Rakshasa. That's the Immelman after the first drop. And the black coaster you see right next to it is another park original. That is Demon. That's the park's Aero Looping coaster. Takes you upside down 4 times. It can be kind of rough. I know some people either love it or hate it. I know some people who love it, some people who dislike it. I don't mind it. You actually get some pretty crazy airtime on the first drop when you ride in the back. So if you come here and the ride's open, I'd recommend giving it a go because these Aero Looping coasters seem to be a kind of a dying breed nowadays. We are now officially heading into Southwest Territory. You'll pass underneath this bridge and you'll be in Southwest Territory, where you'll be greeted with the park's tallest roller coaster. The orange coaster you see there is Raging Bull, a B&M hyper coaster, which we will talk about in just a little second. The first coaster you'll run into is Viper. This is a clone of the Coney Island Cyclone over at Coney Island. It's a family-friendly wooden coaster. Only has a height limit, a height requirement of 48 inches. So, a very popular ride with the families, and it's a pretty good ride overall as well. And I hear Max Force going off in the distance. Let's pause and watch it go. Like I said, Max Force, while it's not a super long ride, it's only about 20 seconds long, does still provide a pretty decent layout after the main launch. You go upside down 5 times, one of which you actually travel through 60 at 60 miles an hour, which is currently the fastest inversion in the world. So that's a pretty cool stat. Again, Max Force opened in 2019. And stands at 175 feet tall. So one that I do recommend doing when you come here. To the right of us now is the entrance for the Windy City Cafe. Used to be called JB's Barbecue, but they have since renamed it to Windy City. From here, you can go one of 2 ways. If you go to the left of this building, you will just basically go to the other side of Southwest Territory, but you will miss the 2 important attractions of this section, which we will talk about in just a second. Inside this building houses the park's teacup ride. This is Chubasco. Fun fact, if you come during Fright Fest, the park's Halloween event, they will completely enclose the building, turning it essentially into a dark ride. They will have music playing, lights flashing all the way around, and basically turning it into a pretty cool experience. So if you come during Fright Fest, try and get on Chubasco. They also do change the name to Terror Twister 2. So that's really cool. Now, the next coaster we'll be talking about is Raging Bull. That's the big old B&M hyper coaster you see right in front of us. There's the entrance for it. This ride is very popular with the public here. If you ask almost anybody here what their favorite coaster is, they'll probably say Raging Bull. Raging Bull, though, is unique because it is a hyper twister coaster. So everyone that's familiar with all the hyper coasters out there that go out and back or have some kind of large layout, this one is a very compact layout since the amount of space they had to work with didn't allow for an out and back layout like we're used to seeing, and so that's why you have it as a hyper twister coaster. Some people love it, some people do not like the hyper twister aspect of it, but I think is fairly underrated in terms of coasters. There are some really great airtime moments, one of which is the first drop. If you sit in the back row, which is row 9, you will get yanked over that first drop. So again, another recommendation, try out Raging Bull when you come to Six Flags Great America and ride in row 9. Right next to Raging Bull is the park's 227-foot tall drop tower, simply named Giant Drop, built by Intamin. Gives you great views of the area, but of course it doesn't last long because you'll drop 227 feet. Pretty powerful, pretty good drop. So if it's open, I recommend doing it. Right next to Giant Drop is the park's swinging ship ride. It's called River Rocker. This ride in front of us is called Ricochet. And if you took that pathway back to the left, that would take you onto the other side of Southwest Territory, which is where we were just at. This building on the left is a set of restrooms. The nice thing about this park is that there is basically a restroom in just about every section you are in, which is very convenient if you need to use the restroom. County Fair, which is where we're going into now, actually has 2 of them, which I'll point out in just a little bit. So we're now heading out of Southwest Territory, and this area of the park is kind of weird, simply because this is where you have the park's dark ride, Justice League Battle for Metropolis, which if you guys are familiar with the Six Flags parks, you know that they have these at a bunch of other Six Flags parks. I think Six Flags Magic Mountain has one, Six Flags St. Louis, and a handful of others. It just feels a little weird because it's right next to Southwest Territory, which is, a little more of a southwestern, old western town theme, and then right next to you have a DC theme ride, which is interesting because they do have DC Universe in the park. So it just makes it feel a little odd. I think this was the only spot where this ride did work, so it makes sense why it's here. It replaced an old theater. So if this was the only spot that they had available for it, then, gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Here are some more train tracks for the Great American Scenic Railway. Right next to the pathway is the corkscrew for Demon, and then right above the pathway, you'll walk right under, is the brake run for Demon. So you get pretty close to some of these attractions. It's really cool. The red coaster you see towering above Demon is the park's B&M Wing Coaster X-Flight, which was added in 2012. We'll get to that in just a little bit, because first things first, we're going to talk about Wrath of Rakshasa, which is that blue coaster you saw earlier on. It's now the one that you're seeing right now. So Wrath of Rakshasa is a pretty important coaster for this park. It currently is going to have the record for the most inversions on a dive coaster. It also is going to have the steepest drop on a dive coaster. It will take you up 180 feet, drop you 171 feet at 96 degrees, and take you through 5 inversions. Currently, Yukon Striker is the one that has the inversion record with 4, but this one will break that record. You have 5 inversions, an Immelman, a dive loop, and then 3 other different rolls. Looks to be one of, if not the best dive coaster that has been built. But we will save judgment for when I ride it. And where we are right now is actually on the other side of the pathway that you'd be able to use to get from County Fair to Hometown Square, or Hometown Square to County Fair. If you remember, we were in Hometown Square. We were on that other side of the pathway. This would also take you to Demon's Entrance. And eventually, of course, when Rakshasa opens, you'll be able to enter it from this pathway as well. But of course, since they're still working on Wrath of Rakshasa, you cannot use that pathway. So we have to keep following around the circle. So that's the only pathway that kind of throws things off. It's not too symmetrical, but it's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, that does get you from, if you did not want to go through Southwest Territory, you could take that pathway and head back into Hometown Square, or vice versa, when it does open back up. So we are now in County Fair. You have a little gift shop next to us. On the left, across from that, is an area where you can get some turkey legs. Right next to that is the County Fair Food Court, which is kind of the biggest eatery, biggest place where you can find food. And then across from the County Fair Food Court is X-Flight. This is again the Parks B&M Wing Coaster. It was added in 2012. Has 5 inversions, another very compact layout, only about 3,000 feet of track, which is going to be a common theme that you'll see with the rides in this park. A lot of them are very compact, pretty short rides, but they're very good rides. This ride does also have 2 of my favorite keyhole elements, which are basically near-miss elements on a wing coaster. One of which you fly underneath a hangar, and then you'll do a swooping turn and go right through that giant tower, the traffic control tower, whatever that is. Really cool near-miss elements on this ride. So definitely check it out to experience that. I know Gatekeeper has a couple keyhole elements too, and some other wing coasters out there, but these 2 are definitely my favorite on a wing coaster. You can see what they look like there. Across from X-Flight, next to the food court, is a set of restrooms, and right next to that is X-Gear, where you can get some X-Flight merchandise and some other Six Flags merchandise. There's a little snack stand. And this next area of the park has seen a couple noticeable changes. One of which, for those who have visited the park before, know that this is where Revolution used to stand. It was a little pendulum ride, spun you around, but they have since removed it. It's now being used for games and just a seating area. And the other big change is going to be over here. You probably can already see it. That is Sky Striker, which is the park's new for 2024 Zamperla Discovery. It's one of those Giga Discoveries, so you go up 170 feet. A pretty intense ride, very fun ride, and so if you are here, check it out. Right next to Sky Striker is the entrance for American Eagle. So you have a brand new ride next to one of the oldest rides in the park. American Eagle is another classic roller coaster for the park. It's called a racing coaster, but unfortunately, because of its age and the structure, it does not allow them to race anymore. They can run both sides. You have red and blue, but unfortunately, they cannot race anymore. But American Eagle is still a very classic ride, very iconic ride for the park. I mean, it's one of the first things you see when you're rolling up to the park and you're driving on I-94. The helix goes right up against the interstate, which is really cool. It was built by Intamin, and again, another recommendation that I have for you is checking out American Eagle because it is a classic. Right next to American Eagle is Kidsopolis. It is one of 3 kids areas. This is kind of like the main kids area, where you just have a handful of attractions spread out for young kids. Right next to Kidsopolis is a Johnny Rockets, which is actually one of 2 Johnny Rockets locations in this park. The other one's in Mardi Gras, which you'll see later on. Right next to Johnny Rockets is another set of restrooms. That's 2 restrooms in County Fair, which is really nice. Right next to the restrooms is an area where we can get some funnel cake. There's a little Dippin' Dots stand. And the big coaster you're looking at now is the new for 2014 roller coaster. This is Goliath. This was the first, one of the first RMC topper tracks, and currently one of the only ones remaining left in the country. Right now you have Outlaw Run, Goliath, and I believe Wildfire out in Sweden. That are your remaining topper track coasters by RMC. This one was built in 2014. Again, another very short layout. And really quickly, this is the station, the county fair station for the Great American Scenic Railway. So if you hop on from here, it can take you back over to Hometown Square. But back to Goliath. Again, this was built in 2014. And at the time, it was a very cool, pretty important ride because this was still fairly early on in Rocky Mountain Construction's life. And despite its short layout, it is a very intense and pretty punchy experience. It has 2 inversions, and in my opinion, 2 of the best inversions on RMC. You have a massive dive loop, and then the first ever 0G stall followed up right after that. So it may be a short ride, but it's a very good ride for the amount of space that they had to work with. We are now heading into Yukon territory. Again, not an area where you'll find too many attractions, but there is a few attractions in this area which we will cover in just a little bit. They're kind of noteworthy and worth pointing out. The first area we're going to talk about is Camp Cartoon. This is a little kids area. Again, this is another kids section. So again, you have 3 of them. This is the 3rd one. Camp Cartoon, again, just has a handful of rides. You have Crazy Bus, a little bus ride. Yahoo River is a little boat ride that only little kids can ride. They cannot be taller than a certain height. And then this is where you'll find one of the only kids coasters in the park. That is Sprocket Rock. It's a little kid-friendly coaster. Right next to Camp Cartoon is another park original. This is Loggers Run. This is the park's flume ride. Opened again with the park in 1976, and it has stood ever since. So well over 40 years old. And there's actually a second side to Loggers Run, which is called, used to be called Yankee Clipper. It is now called Aquaman to fit the DC themed name, which you'll see in just a little bit. Yukon Barbecue Pit is an area we can get some barbecue food like pulled pork. Used to be called Moose Burger, but they have changed that into a barbecue place. Down that pathway there is a set of restrooms. And now this is a bit of a nerdy thing to point out, but I do want to come over here and show you the view of all the roller coasters that you can get. This is a really cool vantage point because you just get a view of all these different roller coasters. You got Batman on the right, Max Force, you see Raging Bull, Wrath of Rakshasa, Giant Drop, X-Flight. Really cool vantage point. That's a photo I've taken so many times. It's a really cool view of all those different attractions. On the left-hand side is the park's go-kart track. It is called Winner's Circle. It is an upcharge attraction. And if you've been following along with the rumors before, you know that these rides, as well as the sky coasters, are on the chopping block for a lot of the parks. This park has already taken out Daredevil Dive, which is where Sky Striker was. So that's one upcharge attraction that has gone, and I would imagine that at some point they will remove Winner's Circle as well. This is, again, another upcharge attraction. It can get pretty popular, so I don't know, maybe it'll stay for a little bit longer, but I would imagine sometime in the near future, we could see Winner's Circle get removed as well. Now, this ride in front of us has an interesting history. It started out at a little amusement park called Kittyland. And when Keyland closed, they were wondering what they're going to do with it. It was going to be scrapped, going to be saved. But Six Flags stepped in and saved this ride and gave it another home, which is just awesome that they did that. They could have easily just let Little Dipper get scrapped, but they said, no, we're going to step in, give it a home, and that is really appreciative of them. That's awesome they did that. But we're now going to head out of Yukon territory. We're going to now head into DC Universe, which obviously is the DC themed area of the park, which you see at now just about every Six Flags park. And the first ride you'll be greeted with when you come this way is Vertigo Velocity. It's now called Flash Vertigo Velocity. It received a repaint to fit the Flash theme. It used to be yellow and blue and just called Vertigo Velocity, but now it's yellow and red to fit the Flash theme, and now it's called the Flash Vertigo Velocity. But it's one of those intimate impulse roller coasters. You launch out of the station, go up each spike a few times, and come back. Again, a pretty short ride, but a very fun ride as well. Which again is just another theme of all the attractions here. They are short rides, but very fun rides. That's something I can appreciate about this park. Right in front of us is the Wave Swinger that's called Supervillain Swings, and the big yellow coaster, which has a triangular lift hill right now. This one is a pretty historic roller coaster. This is Batman the Ride. Now, you're saying, what's historic about it? Well, this was actually the first ever B&M invert. This is basically their first attempt at an inverted roller coaster by B&M, and basically is what allowed all the other B&M inverts to be born. If this ride did not take off like it did, you probably wouldn't see very many, if any, of the inverts that we now have, like Montu and Raptor, Banshee, all those ones. You have this one to thank for all those. Batman the Ride, again, is just one of your typical clone coasters. It has 5 inversions, goes up 100 feet, about 50 miles an hour, but it's a very compact and a fairly intense roller coaster as well. Right across from Batman is Aquaman Splashdown. This is the other side of Loggers Run. This is the other flume ride. Again, used to be called Yankee Clipper when this area was called Yankee Harbor. But again, since they renamed it to DC Universe, they had to change the name to fit the DC theme, and it is now Aquaman Splashdown. But again, that is a park original. It's basically just 2 mirrored images of each other right next to each other, and that's really cool. This big green and purple coaster in front of us is another cookie cutter clone. This is Joker. It's one of those SNS 40 free spins. This one I do like more than a lot of the other free spins. You do get a pretty good amount of flipping in this one. I do recommend the green side. Green side does tend to be a bit flippier than purple. But again, it all depends on how the ride's feeling really that day. Over here is the entrance to Picnic Grove. So if you have any group outings, a birthday party, anything like that, and you want to have a group outing here, you'll most likely have a spot in Picnic Grove. You can find out information about that on the park's website. And there goes Joker. Again, another fairly short experience, but it is a fairly fun experience as well. I know the public eats these things up. They do love their 40 free spins. So while maybe enthusiasts may not love them too much, the public does enjoy them a lot. So we are now in our second to last section. This is Mardi Gras. And this is probably the smallest area of the whole park. It's basically just a rectangle, and it's a pretty small area. And you'll see that in a second. Over here is the entrance to Roaring Rapids. I do not know what happened to the sign. I think that's just because the ride is not open for the season yet. There's a sign telling you that will open later this year. So hopefully when the ride does open, the entrance sign will come back. Because it looks pretty bare bones right now. In front of us now is Big Easy Balloons. This is another family-friendly attraction.
Oh my god, no way!
Just a simple ride that goes around in circles. You get to ride in these big old balloons. They look very nice. Over here on the left, across from the Big Easy Balloons, is the other Johnny Rockets location. While the other one has more of a cafe-style feel where you sit outside. This one does offer some indoor seating, so if it's a hot summer day or you're looking for an area to sit down and relax, you can come to this location and you'll be able to sit down inside. Now, this area of the park is kind of interesting. It has quite a bit of history. So what used to say here, most recently, was Mardi Gras Hangover. It was a Larson Super Loop, stood at 100 feet tall. It's actually the tallest of its kind, I believe. A fairly temperamental ride from what I hear. So it's no secret as to why it's been removed. Before Mardi Gras Hangover came around, you used to have a top spin called King Chaos, which was easily probably more popular than Hangover ever was. So I don't know why they ever felt like removing King Chaos was a good idea, but they did that. But they did remove it, brought in Hangover, and now Hangover is gone. So kind of an interesting area. I don't know what they plan to do with it. I think it is a bit too small to fit any sort of like bigger roller coaster. I'd like to be proven wrong. Maybe they could put some flat rides or something, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, for the last section of the park we will be talking about is Orleans Place. This is where we're going to talk about our last two roller coasters. And a few other attractions are in this section. The first thing is the Primo's Pizzeria, where you can get some pizza, some overpriced pizza. Right next to Primo's is the entrance to Dark Knight. It is basically one of those indoor Wild Mouse coasters themed to the Dark Knight movies. I believe Great Adventure and I think Six Flags Mexico also has one. Yeah, another family-friendly attraction, not one that I do often, but I will do it occasionally. It is a pretty fun little coaster. Right next to Dark Knight is Superman Ultimate Flight, one of the three B&M flying clones that you have around the country. You have one at Great Adventure and Six Flags Over Georgia. Right across from Superman is a little candy shop. Behind the candy shop is a bathroom, which you'll see in just a second. This right here is the entrance to Condor, which is the park's Flying Falcon ride. Again, a pretty rare ride nowadays. It seems like those are getting removed or just don't see them around too often. So if it is open, I do recommend you check it out, because we don't know how much longer that ride will last. And there's the restrooms behind the candy shop. Right next to the restrooms, right next to the candy shop, is Big Lou's, an area where we can get some adult beverages. Rule of Dodge is the park's bumper car ride. There's a little basketball game. Right next to that is Pirates Alley, which is an arcade. And again, there's the entrance to Big Lou's. I have eaten a few times at Big Lou's, and it is pretty good. Their Italian beef is pretty good. So if you are interested in Italian beef, you can check out Big Lou's. Bourbon Street Cafe is on our left-hand side now. This is where you can get some beignets and some bit of healthier options like ham sandwiches, turkey sandwiches, salads, stuff like that. There is an Emporium, a pretty big gift shop on the right, and on the left next to us is another funnel cake stand. And now this section, this little area of the park has seen another noticeable change. Before this little renovation, you would have to walk all the way around to the left of these bushes to get back into Carousel Plaza. But they have since removed this portion of the wall, and you can now just cut right through and back into Carousel Plaza, which is super convenient. Especially for those who had to use the restroom. The closest bathroom would be these ones over here, and you would have to walk all the way around to them. And it was very long and very annoying to do. But they have now removed that section of wall, and you can just come right here to the restrooms, which is really cool. So these were the restrooms and lockers that we saw at the beginning. And then right next to that is the Flags gift shop, which of course means that our walkthrough video is coming to a close. So as you see, while this park may seem big, this park's layout is super easy. Super easy to get around. It is, again, just one giant circle with all the rides forming around that circle. Very easy layout, very fun place to come. Again, you have all sorts of rides and attractions for young ones. And I do recommend you visit Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois. That's it for me. I'm going to sign off now, and as the sign says right there, I will see you all next time. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and share this video with anyone, and I'll see you next time. Take care.